I'm going to be honest. The number one thing that I learned tonight is how to illegally stream a football game. Thank you, YouTube TV. I didn't realize it was this easy. Like, funny enough, you may have like YouTube TV, Disney fighting for who's going to make the most dollars possible, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, I think a lot of people like myself just realized, oh, all I had to do is ask my fantasy football group chat, hey, where do y'all legally watch the games? Type it in, and then bam, it's right there. So, anyway, shout out YouTube TV. Shout out the Dallas Cowboys for having the worst defense in the world. I will say, obviously, we're going to talk about everything. We're going to update the rankings. This weekend, in my league, everything went about as good as I could ever imagine. Better than I could ever imagine, to be honest. Like, teams that I thought would never have lost, they lost. I won. I'm 7-2. Looks like I'm pretty much guaranteed to get a bye yet again this season. Finished 9-5 last year, 7-2 right now. So over the past 2 years, combined record of what, like 16-7. Life's good. But anyway, looking at Arizona, is there a chance that Kyler Murray gets his job back? Like, coming into this game, big questions surrounding, oh, was it a soft benching of Kyler Murray, or is Kyler Murray actually injured? What is the setup? And it looks like Jacoby Brissett's just outplaying him. Like, if you ask Marvin Harrison Jr., if you ask Trey McBride who they would want at quarterback, there's a damn good shot that they say they would prefer Jacoby Brissett. Now, for me, like, I make the rankings for the redraft, at least the redraft rankings on the site, for one quarterback formats. If you're in a super flex league, I would probably have Kyler Murray lower than QB 20, because having like the security of like a Trevor Lawrence, where you know Lawrence is going to be a starter rest of season, is interesting. But here, by the time you get to this section of the rankings, like, the only thing that realistically matters is going to be the upside of these players and not the security of them. And with Kyler Murray, you still do have some upside just because he's going to run the ball a little bit. So we'll have Kyler Murray QB 20 rest of season. I thought Jacoby Brissett was a great start this week just because the Dallas Cowboys defense is horrible. But I'm not super excited to ever start Jacoby Brissett going into the future. He's not going to run the ball at all, even though he had the rushing touchdown in this game. Now, a big update that we actually do have to make with the rankings. I feel like when we had the Thursday night game with the Ravens and the Dolphins, I was like, oh, nothing changes. Nothing at all. Here's something changed in this game, and that was the depth chart of the running backs here for the Arizona Cardinals. Dermicado was just out there way more. I don't have the snap data yet pulled into flockfantasy.com. You can see the raw touches here on the screen. Or if you just watch the game, obviously you just heard the announcer say every 30 seconds, oh, Dermicado in the backfield, Dermicado in the backfield, Dermicado in the backfield. And yeah, Bam Knight just looks like he is cuttable at this point, because keep in mind, you are going to get Trey Benson back soon. So there are some waiver wire running backs such as like Isaiah Davis, I would prefer over Bam Knight. I'd prefer Devin Singletary over him. I'd prefer Emmanuel Wilson. I'd probably prefer Blake Corum. I think we moved Bam Knight down to like RB 54. And then Dermicado, he actually does need to move up dramatically. Am I going to tell you like, oh, you need to put him in your starting lineup this next week? Not at all. Probably move him up to like RB 46, because the reality of the situation is, one, you probably will eventually get Trey Benson back in this backfield. Two, neither Dermicado or Bam Knight are talented. And three, this offense isn't going to be a great offense going into the future. Just because they looked great against the Dallas Cowboys doesn't mean that will be the case again next week. Now, moving over to Marvin Harrison Jr., I want to keep that same tone. It was very easy to call him a must-start name this week. But it was because they were playing against the Dallas Cowboys. Do we think that Marvin Harrison Jr. is a must-start wide receiver going into the future? Not at all. I had him wide receiver 27 coming into this. Based off this performance, where he does have one of the best games of his career, if you want to move him up ahead of Jordan Addison, I'm not going to fault you for it. Like, let's just go ahead and let's look at the game log that we have had with Marvin Harrison through his NFL career. Because one thing that I do want to point out with y'all is that, yeah, I mean, you've had some decent spikes here, but you've had a lot of these garbage performances mixed in. So this is his first game this season with 20 fantasy points. You go back to 2024, his rookie season, he had a couple games with 20 fantasy points, but he would score like 23 points here against Miami. And then the next week he would score 3. Then he'd score 16 and a half, then 7. Then he'd score 17 and then 9. So with Marv, like, yeah, it's a great game against the Dallas Cowboys. And yeah, like, he is very much startable in good matchups going into the future. But like against the Seattle Seahawks this next week, I would want him on my bench. Against the Houston Texans the first week of the fantasy playoffs in week 15, I'd probably want him on my bench. I know we have people in the chat saying, oh, it's a Kyler problem. It's just Kyler Murray. Jacoby Brissett's figured it out for him. Hell, go and look at what he did with Jacoby Brissett in week 6 and week 7. He had 5.2 and 7.8 points. Like, let's not be super, super excited about Marv. Like, I don't even think, like, here's the fact of the matter. I think there's only one player that Jacoby Brissett makes an impact with, and that's going to be Trey McBride. McBride, you have 9 targets. You have 5 receptions, 55 receiving yards, and the receiving touchdown. And you go through and you look at McBride's entire NFL career, and what's been the problem with him? The problem that you've had with McBride is the fact that he's just simply not catching touchdowns. Like, inside the red zone, they don't use him. But you've seen since Jacoby Brissett has been the starting quarterback, 4 touchdowns over the past 3 weeks. Go and look at what Trey McBride did last season with Kyler Murray. 147 targets, he had 2 touchdowns. 106 targets in 2023, he had 3. So, like, Trey McBride has been incredible over the past 3 weeks. Obviously, like I want to say, for all these Arizona Cardinals players against the Dallas Cowboys, I don't want to overreact for any of these names. But McBride definitely benefits from having Brissett under center as opposed to Kyler Murray, at least in my opinion, especially with the red zone usage. And yeah, I'll have Trey McBride and Brock Bowers as the only S-tier tight ends in our rest of season ranks. Y'all can argue in the comment section who you'd rather have between Bowers and McBride. I'm not going to engage in the argument. That's why they're in the tiers. You do you on which player you would prefer. But let me get ready to pull up the Dallas Cowboys stats. And as I do this, I will let you know that you already have the projections over there on Underdog Fantasy out for the Thursday night game. And our lock of the century on Underdog for today, I believe, did hit with CeeDee Lamb lower than 1.5 rushing yards. But if you want to check out any of these projections on Underdog Fantasy, the link's always in the description. The link's always in the comment section. They currently have Brock Bowers, higher lower 61.5 receiving yards for the game on Thursday. Code FLOCK will get you $100 out of your account after you play your first 5. And on top of that, you will get a free Ashton Genty pick, higher, lower, half a total yard for that Thursday night game. And lastly, you'll get free questions that you can ask in these live streams. We're streaming every single night until Christmas, answering your free questions as well. But let's move over to the Dallas Cowboys. So we are looking at the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott, very disappointing day. The majority of these sacks, the interception as well, it was at the end of the game where Dallas had to just abandon the run. I mean, it was very much just in the game script. I don't think Dak Prescott was as bad as the box score indicates. Not saying that he was good, just saying he wasn't horrible. You know, sometimes quarterbacks have like garbage time stats that generally swing in the positive direction. Think back Blake Bortles in Jacksonville, king of garbage time. But here in the instance of Dak Prescott, it was like bad garbage time. In terms of my rest of season ranks, I probably moved Dak down a tier. I probably don't have him in the same tier with Jalen Hurts and Drake May. but I think we keep Dak Prescott like as QB6 most likely. I don't think really much changes there. Because the thing with Dallas is their defense is just so damn bad that they're going to have to continue to go out there. They're going to have to continue to ask Dak to drop back 40 plus times a game. Now, moving over to running back, Javonte Williams with the fumble at the end of the game. Javonte, I'm not changing at all in my ranks. This game script got away from him. He's still a running back that is having all the usage, and Javonte looked damn good. I understand, obviously, with the fumble, it was frustrating near the very end of it, but he has all the usage as a receiver. He has all the usage as a rusher, typically. I know this game was maybe a little bit different, but like you can go through and you can look at what we have had coming into this contest, and Javonte coming into this, I believe, had been averaging 4.3 targets per game. The receiving yards per game, maybe not great, but PPR points are there. The volume's there as a rusher. He's had double-digit carries in every single game so far this season, averaging 15 plus opportunities per game. So I'm still A-okay with Javonte Williams. If you wanted to slide him down just a bit behind a few of these running backs, you do you, but I do think that he stays in B tier. Then going over to the receivers, I don't think much changes. I will say thank you, George Pickens, again. I know we showed y'all this in the video earlier today that we very rarely have what I deem to be locks on Underdog, but I thought a couple of these were good. But anyway, we'll get away from Pickens. If we are looking at CD Lamb, 12 targets, 85 receiving yards. I know he doesn't score a touchdown, but what else could you ask for? He's getting the volume. He's a great wide receiver. And this is going to be an offense, again, that has Dak Prescott drop back 40 plus times a game. And he's already through his bye week. Actually, I'm sorry. He had the week 7 bye last year. He has to go through the week 10 bye this next week. So maybe if you wanted to move Amon-Ra St. Brown ahead of him because Amon-Ra's already through his bye, you can do that. But I still think Lamb stays inside of A tier. George Pickens still sits there as a top 12 wide receiver in my rest of season rankings. Because again, this is going to be an offense where Dak Prescott throws the ball 40 plus times a game with how bad the defense is. Pickens looks great. Jake Ferguson, I know a lot of people wanted to make fun of us for still going through and ranking Brock Bowers ahead of him in our rest of season rankings a couple weeks back. I've yet to see you apologize in the comment section, but regardless, we'll move on from that. My thing with Ferg is the volume's just not going to be there the same way that it was when you had no Lamb. It's very easy to just go through and say, oh, Jake Ferguson, S tier level tight end with no CeeDee Lamb in this offense, which is why he was a buy low candidate when CeeDee Lamb went down, and why he was a sell high candidate when CeeDee Lamb was coming back, just because the target volume is going down dramatically. But we're going to keep Jake Ferg at tight end 5. So, in reality, like as we look back on this, the Dallas offensive players, nothing really changes there for me. It's like I'm kind of leaving Dallas where we had them beforehand. Maybe you make minor little tweaks. Arizona, that's where I think that really the big change happens, where you just look at the running back usage, where Bam Knight is pretty much cuttable. And then if you wanted to roster somebody, it would be Dermicado. But in reality, it's a running back by committee, and an offense is probably going to be pretty bad most weeks going into the future. So not that interested. But I think that's all I have for y'all with this live stream. I think we covered the most things. Let me think if there's anything else. Obviously, I'll keep on updating the rankings on the site until the very end of the season. And also, I want to remind y'all that if y'all wanted to get those promos on Underdog Fantasy, not too late. I'll leave you the link in the description. I'll leave you the link in the comment section. And yeah, really appreciate you. Really hope I get to see you out with the live stream tomorrow. And much love, ladies and gentlemen.